So the battle over border security just got even more complicated even after the Supreme Court issued an emergency order. The Fifth Circuit has now been asked to delay the decision on the Texas border law because the Trump administration now has taken control of this case and is taking a different position. So let's break down what is happening. Now, really quick before we jump into this video, I want to thank one of the main supporters and sponsors of this channel, which is 1st Phorm. 1st Phorm's an amazing company. You guys know that they make great supplements. If you're trying to get healthier and work out more, they have protein powder, pre-workout, all of that stuff. But also they're pro-freedom, pro-America. They support the Second Amendment and what we do here on the channel. So if you want to check them out, you can use the links down below. And if you order something using my link and it's $50 or more, you can get a free 4-pack of energy drinks. As I mentioned in the intro, in this video, we need to talk about the Texas border dispute and the state's SB4 law, which was challenged by the Biden administration. Things are now getting even more complicated because of the Supreme Court's orders. They issued an emergency order recently on this issue. And now you also have the Trump administration taking control of this case. They're taking this over from the Biden administration and they have a different position and some executive orders that they've issued, which will directly impact this case. The issue of Texas SB4 and this whole border law is now in the hands of the Fifth Circuit, and we're currently waiting for a decision from the Fifth Circuit. We recently saw the Fifth Circuit issue a different decision in another case which dealt with a border lawsuit, and that had to do with sea wire along the Eagle Pass area. In that case, the Fifth Circuit ruled in the favor of the state of Texas, and now the Trump administration is asking for the Fifth Circuit to delay their decision in the SB4 challenge because they want to determine how they want to handle this lawsuit, how they want to handle this issue, and if they're going to take a different position and maybe not even defend this lawsuit. Now, we need to do some background on this case so you understand what is going on in this specific lawsuit. Texas SB4 effectively makes it a crime for an individual to violate federal law by crossing into the state of Texas at any location other than a lawful point of entry. It also makes it a further crime to illegally re-enter if a person has already been denied admission into the United States or previously been removed from the US. Finally, this law also allows judges in the state of Texas to issue orders requiring those individuals who have crossed the border illegally to return to the foreign nation where they entered. This bill was challenged by the Biden administration because, of course, they did not like it. A district court on review issued a preliminary injunction preventing the state of Texas from enforcing all of SB4. The lower court in that case placed a universal preliminary injunction on the SB4 law and broadly blocked the enforcement of the entirety of the statute. Texas then appealed that injunction up to the Fifth Circuit, and in response, the Fifth Circuit issued an administrative stay on that lower court decision, and they essentially blocked the universal order. So they ruled in favor of the state of Texas and said that Texas could still enforce SB4. Now, various cases in response to that were consolidated, and then at that time, the plaintiffs filed for Supreme Court emergency intervention. So the United States government went to the Supreme Court asking for relief. They asked for the Supreme Court to step in early and remove the Fifth Circuit administrative stay, and essentially they wanted the Supreme Court to block the Texas SB4 law. We then received an order from the Supreme Court denying the Biden administration's request to vacate that administrative stay, so they ruled in favor of the state of Texas. Now, interestingly, when this case went back down to the Fifth Circuit panel who was actually going to review this case decided that same day to remove the order that was issued by the motions panel, so they then decided to rule in favor of the Biden administration. This case then went to full review in front of the 3-judge panel in the Fifth Circuit, and they were going to determine whether or not they would grant the preliminary injunction in favor of the Biden administration. Now, currently, there are both a Fifth Circuit decision that's pending in this SB4 lawsuit, and also there is a decision pending in the 8th Circuit, which is reviewing an Iowa law that is almost identical to what Texas did with SB4. As I mentioned, you also had the Fifth Circuit recently rule on another border security lawsuit, and that dealt with sea wire at the Eagle Pass area. The Fifth Circuit issued a decision in that Eagle Pass case effectively blocking the federal government, including Border Patrol agents, from entering Texas-owned property and cutting sea wire along the border. But now with President Trump in office and his administration taking control of these cases and clearly taking a different position on the border, there's a lot of questions about what now happens with these lawsuits that they had to take on because of the Biden administration. Recently, in the SB4 Texas border lawsuit, in this challenge, they notified the Fifth Circuit that they want an extension of time to file their additional briefs that were requested by the court. In this motion, the Trump administration states that On February 11th, 2025, this court directed the parties to file supplemental letter briefs addressing 3 questions. The supplemental letter briefs are currently due on February 19th, 2025, and no extensions have been previously sought. The United States respectively requests a 30-day extension of time to file the supplemental letter briefs to and including March 21st, 2025. Good cause exists for this extension in light of the recent change in administration on January 20th, 2025. The court's February 11th order asked the parties to address, among other things, whether the parties' position on any issues in the appeal have changed since the change in the administration. The Department of Justice and other agencies are under new leadership, and new agency officials are still in the process of onboarding and familiarizing themselves with all the issues presented by this case. Those issues include the impact on this case of the proclamation entitled Guaranteeing the State's Protection Against Invasion, which the federal government previously noted in its January 23rd letter to this court, as well as 2 executive orders identified in the court's February 11th order. That evaluation is underway, but requires additional time for the federal government to prepare a response to the court's supplemental briefing order. Counsel for the United States has contacted counsel for the non-federal plaintiffs' appellees and the Texas defendants' appellants, who indicated that they do not oppose this extension requested, provided that the deadlines for their letter briefs are also extended. For the foregoing reasons, the United States respectfully requests that this court extend the deadline within which to file the supplemental letter briefs ordered by the court in its February 11th, 2025 order for 30 days to and including March 21st, 2025. So what does that motion and notice to the Fifth Circuit mean? The Trump administration through this motion has told the Fifth Circuit that they want an additional 30 days to determine how they want to handle this case going forward. Also, they have already sent multiple notices to the Fifth Circuit identifying new executive orders by President Trump on this whole border crisis issue. Those executive orders obviously take radically different approaches from what the Biden administration was doing in these specific lawsuits which the Biden administration engaged in, and so they're saying that they need more time to determine what they want to do with these cases going forward. Those executive orders, which have already been issued by President Trump, will likely impact this Texas SB4 lawsuit, and maybe also there is a potential that those executive orders would actually collaborate with the state of Texas on their current efforts when it comes to SB4. Specifically, the Guaranteeing the State's Protection Against Invasion executive order states, in joining the Union, the states agreed to surrender much of their sovereignty and join the Union in exchange for the federal government's promises in Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution to protect each of the states against invasion. I have determined that the current state of the southern border reveals that the federal government has failed to fulfill this obligation to the states and hereby declare that an invasion is ongoing at the southern border, which requires the federal government to take measures to fulfill its obligations to the states. Now, this language, which was issued by President Trump in that executive order, directly acknowledges the concerns that Texas had and why they ultimately passed SB4 to engage in this specific conduct. That means that both the Trump administration and the state of Texas are in agreement that what the state of Texas did with SB4 was correct, that they took the right action because the federal government was not protecting them from what was happening at the border. Of course, that executive order and others is inherently going to impact this pending decision in the Fifth Circuit and what position the Trump administration takes in these lawsuits. So these are some very important border security lawsuits that are now trying to wrap up. Now we will wait to see how the Fifth Circuit and also the Eighth Circuit rule on the SB4 law in Texas and also the clone bill out of Iowa. There's also going to be a question about how the Trump administration wants to handle these pending cases going forward, but I suspect that it will still be in favor of the state of Texas and what Texas and Iowa did with their specific laws. So this is a very important development in these border lawsuits. The Trump administration has now stepped in, asked for a delay, and they're going to review about how they want to address these going forward. So as we get more information, I will let you guys know. If you like this video and you like to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm, and it tells the algorithm that you see value in these videos and that it should send it to more people. But as always, thank you guys so much for all of your support. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And never forget, this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.